Shri Guru Bhagavat, the theory of Karma-Phala. Rulers, their karmas and effects. The ruler of a country is served by his subjects even if he is an evil person. By serving a king this way, the subjects exhaust their prarabdha debts that they owed to the king in earlier lives. The subjects exhaust the burden of such debts by serving the king for an ordained period of time. Once the stock of punya of the king gets exhausted, then his right to rule comes to an end. As a result, a sudden situation gets created, as a result of which either the king relinquishes his kingdom or has to meet with his nemesis, death. If the king torments his subjects with impunity, then he becomes indebted to his subjects for the evil deeds which he has to repay. As a result of his cruel deeds, the stock of his punya reduces and the stock of his vices increases. Thus, when the entire stock of punya gets exhausted, he loses his kingdom and faces acute suffering. In the past, many rulers who had exhausted the stock of their punya in this manner had to suffer a miserable end. In the ensuing lives, they will have to repay the debts. However, if one doesn't exhaust the stock of his virtues by expending them through pleasures, then the stock of his punya goes on increasing, as a result of which the concluding part of his life becomes painless and comfortable. On the other hand, if a ruler sincerely serves the poor and the destitutes, he reaps the rewards of his good act by being born under fortunate circumstances. However, if a sinner continues to perpetuate sins in his new life, then he has to suffer in his next lives as well. If a ruler continues to perform both virtuous and evil deeds simultaneously, his stock of virtue goes on decreasing and the burdens of his sin goes on increasing commensurately. That is why the wise and saint advise us not to spend one's life in the gratification of sensual desires, because in the process of such enjoyment, one is prone to commit sins and further add to the stock of pap. If the stock of evil karmic debts goes on increasing, then the person has to suffer for many lives. One commits sins due to the evil propensities of mind carried through past lives. Realizing this, if one resists from committing further sins and performs virtuous acts, then the stock of his sins goes on reducing. Jai Shri Guru Bhagavat.